So welcome everybody to our virtual connection session for May. Today we have a great session for you. It's an Ask the Expert session, tech tips for Zoom and beyond. As you all know, we have all been thrust into a world where Zoom meetings are all day, every day. They're for virtual events, they're for just regular meetings. We're using the Zoom and these technological tools much more than we were in the past. And if you're anything like me, it's a struggle to figure out how to create the highest quality videos and virtual programs that you can using tools that don't cost an arm and a leg and that don't require a computer science degree. So we have asked Michael, and I know I'm going to slaughter your last name, Zubrzycki.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Zubrzycki, yes.
Hey, I did it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, he is a magician from Stockton, their communication studies college. He is a senior liaison and academic support. He helps with television programs and all things production. So he is going to tell us a little bit about what we can do as non-experts to create the highest quality Zoom and virtual programs that we can. He's going to address some of your specific questions that you submitted during the registration process. So I think it's going to be a very useful session. If your question is not answered during the session, we are going to have open question and answer following his short presentation. So without further ado, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. Please keep your profiles on mute unless you're speaking. If you do have questions, if you want to type them in the chat box, I'll be collecting those and then I'll funnel them to Mike for answering after his presentation. So thanks again. And Mike, you can start whenever you're ready.
It's my turn. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So again, so my name is Michael Zubrzycki. It's a pleasure to meet all of you, and thanks to the SJCA for this opportunity. So again, as Julie noted, I work here in the Communication Studies program at Stockton University. We actually make television shows here that have a focus on a local area. I've also helped out with other production needs on campus and so forth, with a background doing production work before that. So just like Julie said, we've all been thrust into Zoom, and hopefully everybody gets a little something out of this presentation, because my personal belief from production field is that, you know, we're starting to get back to normal. New Jersey's starting to get back to normal, you know, supposedly, and everything. And but I think a lot of things that Zoom is going to stay with us. You know, there's going to be a lot of this staying with us going forward. Yeah, it's definitely going to be the case going forward here with the campus. You know, it's remote connectivity has a lot of benefits to it. So how we're going to break this down is I have a quick PowerPoint we're going to look at in just a second. It just talks about just some general tips and considerations when you are getting ready to do a Zoom production. That could mean if you're looking to host your own event right from your computer, or if you're in a slightly bigger venue. Just a couple of quick points. We're going to touch those very quickly, and then we'll move along to a video that is a deep dive into a lot of stuff you could do in Zoom to enhance your engagement. So that being said, so right here, production considerations. So, you know, in general, you know, just a couple quick things to be aware of when you are looking to do any type of production in this. Okay, determine as much as possible ahead of time in your pre-production. You know, figure out what your goal is going to be. Figure out, you know, are you, you know, what is your event going to be specifically about? What is its focus going to be? You know, as many elements you could think of so that you're not caught off guard. There's a couple of examples here, like where will you be, what time of day, how far away from the computer. Are you doing a Zoom event like we are right here, or are you going to be, you know, further back in an open space? How many people in one screen at the same time if you're producing something, whether that's on Zoom or on a, you know, different recording device. You know, these are general questions to start kind of considering how you would build yourself out. Okay, just a couple of quick things to think about, going a bit more detail with it. So real quick, you know, quick tips for lighting, I've seen this a lot in Zoom. I'm looking at everybody here. Most of folks in this, everybody's looking great so far. And from what I'm seeing here, who has cameras on, but I have been in situations where folks will be in the space and they'll have a very bright light source right behind them. It could be a big window, it could be a lamp, and it could be some other source of light. And if it's too bright, it's going to mess with your camera, it's going to adjust the exposure, and you could wind up getting silhouetted yourself where you're not visible. However, you want to make sure there's enough light coming to in front of you to hit you as best as possible. Another thing I see is folks having that, relying on the light from their camera, from their computer monitor. Not always the best idea. Larger spaces, just touching on briefly, you need as much light as possible. If you're doing an event like that, where say it's indoors, you may really want to try doing it in the daytime. You have windows to get as much light in as possible. Otherwise, you might need additional lighting kits to help out with getting those light sources into your shot. Be aware of glass or other glossy reflective surfaces that can distract the viewer. We've had some situations where folks are, behind them, they might be showing it could be a photo, it could be artwork, and it's like on the wall behind them, but the way how the light's hitting it, it would be a huge glare. It's going to wind up distracting the viewers. So that is always something to be aware of. And just a couple examples here. Over here we have, just a standard ring light that is both dimmable and it's dimmable. It is color temperature balanced, and it's not a lot of money. It's not too much money. Again, 3 light kit, but it's a larger LED light kit that could be used for your needs. Again, those links will be active in the actual PowerPoint. Audio. So, be aware of your microphone's range. If you're just talking right into your computer, you don't want to be, too far back, and too far back, your audio might start adjusting with quality the further away you are from your microphone. Remember that Zoom does have a selectable toggle for all available microphones. It is always down on your toolbar, wherever that is in Zoom on your device. And it's always the image of the microphone. You click the little drop-down arrow next to the microphone, and it will come up with all the options for your available microphones and speakers. Why? Because you may want to purchase an external microphone for a bit better quality if you feel it's necessary. There's a couple examples on this spreadsheet you'll be able to click on for a couple of USB microphones. One is $50, another one's $100, I believe, for a couple examples to help enhance your audio quality if you're not satisfied with your onboard that's built into your device. And last part down here, recording a large event. I've been asked this a couple of times about covering large events. I've had people ask me about, especially if they want to Zoom like a live music event, for example. I've been asked that, and there really is no easy way around it. You probably do need someone that's proficient in audio design and build, because you're probably going to need at least a handful of microphones going into a mixer that's going into your computer. That could be a selectable input source for Zoom. If you're doing it in a live Zoom, or you bring that into whatever other software you're recording with into your computer. I do have an example here of a mixer, but that mixer itself, I believe, is around like $100 also. It's cameras. So real quick, everybody's doing here, keep yourself centered. Make sure you have enough headroom over the top of your head. A lot of times folks will position themselves and their head is cut out frame. Wearing glasses. You might have to, right? But just be aware that if you are having a computer monitor in front of you, most likely you are, and depending on how bright the light source is on your monitor, you might be able to dim your monitor. That's going to reflect off your lens. It's going to reflect off the lenses on your glasses. And what happens is we don't see your eyes. We're actually going to see just the light from the monitor, or it'll be kind of like, half of your eyes are partially covered by that light. And look at the lens. We cover that a little more later, but everybody has a camera on their devices. If you don't know where the lens is, might sound silly, but become familiar with it, because the problem with Zoom is we don't have that one-to-one connectivity, or the core of our human culture is scattered as a result. And look at that lens is like the only way to really connect. So yeah, editing software. So just touching on this very quickly, only talk about 2 softwares for today. If you are going to be producing video or you're taping in Zoom and you want to clean it up a little bit in post-production, okay? A couple of fast takes in here. I put fast in quotations because editing is not fast. Editing does take time. Even that time is only an hour. Make sure you plan ahead of time. If you have a deadline to create a video for something, always plan ahead. Even when you're done your editing, your computer has to make the video. That could take a couple of minutes. I'll be playing a video next that's going to cover a lot of things in Zoom. Took me quite a bit of time to make that video, but also took my computer about 40 minutes just to make the final file. So there is that time that takes to account. YouTube. So YouTube. It sounds silly, but there are lots of videos on YouTube that are good. They're good quality for software explanation, tutorials, troubleshooting. I've used them. I still use them. There's no shame. It's great that there's a resource like that out there to where you could do some research if you are running into a certain situation with your software. Which software? So Windows 10 Video Editor. Most folks are either going to have a Windows computer or a Mac. So if you have a Windows 10 Video Editor, this is the new editing program. For years, it used to be Windows Movie Maker. Now it's Windows 10 Video Editor with Windows 10. You actually find it by searching Video Editor on the computer. I have never personally used this software yet, I'll be honest, because I work off of Mac, but this is the new software, and YouTube link there is for your convenience later on to a video that I found to be helpful in just understanding, the foundations for what the video editor can do in Windows. And last but not least, iMovie, still around, has been around, is around. So you have a Mac, you get it from the Apple App Store, it is free. Again, another link in there to, that goes into about the software a little bit, but those are 2 softwares I just wanted to touch on because these 2 softwares, they're free. And I think that's like the big thing that I want to push to folks is that, Windows 10 Video Editor, from what I understand, is actually available already in Windows 10 when it's fully updated. iMovie is accessible from the App Store. So, again, those are resources that you can use. They are 2 different types of software too. Like they're both video editing softwares, but this Windows 10 Video Editor is quite a bit different from what I'm used to. So again, that one link to the YouTube there, plus other links, it helps to kind of sit back and absorb that data. Okay. So literally I had a very short PowerPoint and I believe that's it. Am I at the, I am. I'm at the end of the truck there. Let me stop share. So, all right, so we're going to go to the video. So kick back, enjoy, and we will do a round of questions after the video. And this is all going to be all about stuff on Zoom, varying things on Zoom that you can do.
Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over many of the functions available in Zoom. We're starting with closed captioning. As you can see, I already have it turned on and in use right here. When you are using the closed captioning, you're using a default AI that is in Zoom. It is only so accurate if you do not speak clearly. It will lead to misinterpretation. I can see a couple of bumps already as the AI is figuring out the transcription. So in order to turn it on, you do have to be the host. You go down to the toolbar, you click on the live transcription button right down here, and you would enable the auto transcription services. I'm going to click on the button real fast and stop talking because the pop-up is going to cover the captions. Feel free to look at the options real fast. So as you can see, there is the disable auto transcription, which you would click on now to stop transcription. Before it said enable auto transcription, it was in gray. You click on it, it goes blue. and that's how you know it's active. You can also use a third-party transcription service if that's necessary. There are vendors out there that do offer such services. Also, you can assign yourself or another individual in the room to be a live transcriber, where they would literally be typing in the transcription and entering it live in Zoom during your event. If you are a participant in Zoom and the host has closed captioning on, you need to manually turn on the closed captioning on your end as a participant. I'm going to switch over to a participant screen really fast, and I'm not going to speak yet. I'm just going to show where you would click to turn on the captioning, and you'll see where it's at in the menu bar. And you can see that while I'm talking, the subtitles are now coming up. The closed captions are coming up in Zoom on the participant end. Again, the participant has to activate this setting. One thing to note is that the font is now smaller on the participant end, right? Well, as a participant, you can adjust the size of your font to suit your needs. Again, I'm going to stop talking for a moment and going into the commands on the participant end. And if I talk now, you will see that the font size is larger, just like it was on the host end in this video. So that's just another option to your participants to make the access a little easier when using closed captions in Zoom. Okay, so you log into your Zoom account, go to your meetings, and we have a meeting already set up for demonstration, but you can do this when you schedule a meeting. So for now, we're going to go here and into Edit. Scroll down to the bottom of the screen, and you will have Enable Language Interpretation. This must be turned on in order to be used. Also note there that shows that it's only available version 4.5.0 or later. You know, when you're using any of these functions, you should be relying on a desktop is probably best, or a laptop, and it should always be updated, and you're using the actual app that you would install on your computer, not using it through just a web browser function. You should actually have it downloaded with an icon on your computer that you can use to access Zoom. Alright, click on Enable Language Interpretation, and you have to set someone up to be your interpreter. All you need is an email and noting which languages you will be offering services for. And there you go. Hit save. And now you're set, and you now have, you go down to the bottom here, interpreters with this email address. When that individual logs in, they will have the ability to be an interpreter for your event. You must have at least one person assigned to do interpretation in your meeting settings. If you do not, the settings will not take. You must have someone assigned. You can always assign someone else in the meeting, but before the meeting, you have to have someone signed in, whether that's yourself or someone else. Okay, now that language interpretation has been enabled, if you're the host, you go down to the interpretation button, click the button, and your pop-up will come up where you can, have your assigned interpreter ready to go, and you would hit start. Sometimes I've seen glitches where assigning an interpreter, even though you did it in your Zoom settings does not work properly, but it did take into Zoom settings, and now sometimes they'll come up where the name has some asterisks in it, and it's just not it's just not responding. It's not letting you use them as the interpreter. You can always close your current interpreter, just X it out and hit add interpreter, and you can choose someone from the group, and you just set up like you did in the settings, and you would hit start. Again, even though you can do this here, you must set someone up in your Zoom settings, in your Zoom account, under the meeting details first. That has to be done. And we're over here in the participant screen, and we see that a pop-up has come up saying that, hey, congratulations, you are going to be an interpreter, and you would hit OK. You'll see that little button down at the bottom here with the English and Spanish, and the idea is you would click on one of them, and the one that you would click on is the language you are speaking into your microphone for. If I have Spanish selected, then as the participant, I am providing the Spanish audio. If I click on English, I would be providing the English audio. Other folks in the Zoom room would have this pop-up where you can choose between off, English, or Spanish. So if you had someone that is providing Spanish, audio for you to hear, you would, you click on the Spanish, and then you can hear the Spanish language come through. You hear that other language come through on the audio. If you hit off, in most instances in Zoom, hitting off will just give you the native audio, which is going to be English, and you would hear the English translation. Okay, so another option is changing your font size in the chat window. So we use the chat window a lot to engage with the audience, whether we're going to send out web links or other information for the audience so that they have a reference to work with over here in the chat window. So I already typed in a quick chat right here, and most of you have probably experienced it, that chat is pretty small in Zoom. You can resize your windows, but you may not know that you can change your font size in Zoom. By doing that, click into your Zoom profile up here. Again, it might be slightly different on a like a Windows-based PC, but you would go down here, go to Preferences, and once you're in here, go down to Accessibility. And again, not only can you, again, use this to change that caption size like we discussed earlier, you can do it this way as well, right? You can also go right here to the chat display size, and there is shortcuts there on the Mac. Most likely there's going to be shortcuts on the PC end as well, but here is your size, and choose a size. And you'll see right over here, that font got pretty big. So you could always adjust it to something you are more comfortable with during the event that you're in. If you're looking to create additional engagement in Zoom, another option is to create a poll to get a feel from your audience on a topic or series of topics. So what you would do is you would set up your poll in your Zoom settings. So there is your polling button down here to execute polls. If you've made no polls at all yet prior to the meeting, you can click on the polling button and you can create a poll, and it will reroute you to your Zoom settings. So let's go over there. So it would take you over to this screen regardless, right? You have to make your poll right here in your settings window. Here's the meeting, here is the enable language interpretation like we discussed, and down here is your polls. So I already have one poll that I actually created and ran just for my own demo needs, but we're going to create a question right now. So you go over here to hit add, and you hit add, and you put in the information. So right here, you could just put in a quick title. And add a question. And you add in the answers for everyone to choose from. and you need to have at least 2 options, and you create a maximum there of 10 options to choose from. And that's about that. So once you have your question and your answers, you could choose single choice or multiple choice. So that way a participant can either choose one answer or multiple answers. And you can also add multiple questions and such. So for now, we're just going to do it right here to one question in this poll, which is for this. Hit save. And you'll see it is right here. Now my demo poll here has already ended, so I cannot do anything else with that poll right now at this moment, but I got this poll ready to go. So let's go into Zoom. So hit the poll button. So you'll see this comes up. This is the demo question that I had just done for myself on the fly. You could always relaunch a question. If you need to relaunch the survey, you could actually relaunch it and it will do the whole process all over again. For this, we're going to select our other question though. Go up here to your drop down. This only works if you have more than one poll, of course. And go to your food survey too. Boom. And we can see what the options are. And we're gonna hit launch poll. The poll is now live, okay, on the participants' end. They see the question and answers. They can make their decision, hit submit, and boom, they're done. You are looking at the results because you are the host, the conductor of the poll from your end. So look at here, and we're going to have someone submit an answer, and here we go. And someone just submitted, and neither. They don't want hot dogs or hamburgers, okay? So that's, you can see here you have 1 of 2 votes in. You get end the poll anytime you want. You can see how long it's running and such. Just a reminder that, again, we see this poll right here in this video because I'm doing a screen recording. In a regular meeting, this would not be visible yet to your participants, okay? Hit your end poll. Poll is done, and you can see what your result is on a participant end. They don't see anything, okay? But if you want, you can, you could download it. I believe it downloads it into like a spreadsheet format. You can also hit share results, which is going to be your other level of engagement. You hit that, and boom, what you see right here is now being shown to everyone. You can see it's sharing right now. So if you're a participant, you see the result, and you can see what the percentage was for the total. Now, on your end, you see here it says only 1 vote for the 100%. They do not see that 1 vote. They will only see the 100%. So you can stop sharing. And that's about it for doing polls if you're looking to get some extra communication from your audience. Okay, so this time we're going to have all the cameras on for this next function, which is spotlighting. So Zoom is a video conferencing app, and it does have only so many tools when you're trying to control your visual content to your audience. So we're going to go into spotlighting. Right now, my camera in this group is spotlighted. So you'll see right here in the upper corner, it says remove spotlight, which I'll do in a moment. But that's how you know your spotlighting is on. So what does spotlighting do? This feed right now, if we were in the meeting, this feed is now being forced to everyone in the meeting that is in a speaker view, right? Again, upper corner here, you can choose either your speaker view or your gallery view, right? But for, you have to be in speaker view for the push to work the way it's supposed to. Again, this is how, at least some way that you could control your cameras, right? So, because if I turn off my spotlight, it decides to route to my secondary camera here, and, that's what happens in Zoom because you want someone else on camera, but someone else coughs or they sneeze, and it goes to that camera, and this is not the camera you want, and you want to go to the camera you need to be at. So, again, up top here, if you hover over each camera available, you do have your 3 dots, and you click on them to open up your pop-up. Go down to Spotlight for everyone, which is what would show when you're engaging spotlighting. And now the camera you want is back on, where you want to be for everyone to see, right? So, a couple things to note about this. In my participant window, I have 3 participants. you must have 3 participants. If you have 2, spotlighting does not appear in Zoom. You must have 3, okay? If you don't have 3 participants, it's not going to show. Also, in order for the spotlighting to be selectable, those 3 participants, you do need to have cameras on, okay? There are some workarounds as you go into an event that possibly you can work with here. Like, for example, I can say I want to go here, and let's say, let's just go here because it's the easier one for me to reach, and stop video. So I stop their video, and I'm going to hide non-video participants. And now just these 2 cameras are up, and I can, you know, go back and forth between these 2 cameras as needed. Again, my phone is just shoved in my cabinet right now because the speaker is a little bit loud and I don't want to loop into the camera, and I cannot fully mute it. So, but you see here how I'm just working with the 2 cameras, right? So, you know, it's a half truth. If you only need 2 cameras, you can make it work, but you must have 3 cameras initially active for your spotlighting to take place. So again, let's ask this person to start their video. And they're going to respond. And now that camera's back on, okay? So what I just did, if you notice, when you're looking at your cameras, go to the camera you want to go to, click on your options, and go to Replace Spotlight. Boom, camera's up. Which camera you want next? Replace Spotlight. Boom, that camera's up. Back and forth, and back and forth. Other thing you could do is you could add spotlights if you want to show more than one specific camera, more than one person, right? So go up here and let's hit add spotlight, and boom, now those 2 cameras are side by side and everyone is seeing those 2 cameras. And again, the important thing is they still have to be in speaker view, right? If I look up here, you know, I'm in speaker view. If they go to gallery view, it's not going to have the effect. And if I want to add this camera too, boom, now all 3 cameras are the 3 specific cameras everyone can see during the event, right? You know, you want to get rid of cameras. Well, we hover over and we just go to remove spotlight. And it goes away. And remove spotlight. And that goes away. Just be aware that if you're doing this in an event, 1 camera should be spotlighted the whole time. The second you go to the last camera on your end and you hit that remove spotlight, now, there we go. Just what everybody wants to see, the inside of my cabinet drawer, in case you want to see what the inside of a cabinet drawer looks like when it's closed. There you go. So, yeah. So again, spotlight for everyone. And rounding out all of this, we've been talking about different ways you could connect to your audience through tools available in Zoom. Now, maybe you need to control your audience a bit more instead in Zoom. So right off the bat, one of the things that you can do is in your settings, you can set up a require authentication to join, aka a registration, okay? That's something you set up in your settings. So instead of folks just getting the standard invite with a join link, what they'll receive is a request to register for the event where to put some information in, and then they would be allowed to enter into the event. It enables you through your event, you can pull up the information through your event profile as you're receiving respondents to, they'll start popping up down, I believe more so at the bottom part here if you have that set up, and it'll show a list of emails and names of who is registered, so you already have an idea of who's coming in for your event, right? Okay. Also, you know, I don't have it selected right now, but mute participants upon entry is never a bad idea. You know, if you have a large scale event, I have used that a lot because, again, you don't want people to jump in, they make a loud noise and everyone gets distracted. Your cameras might get switched if you're not spotlighting, and all sorts of things can happen. So allow participants to join anytime. I do have that configured because when they join at any time, they go into the waiting room. So they're never just gonna blitz right into the actual Zoom room in that instance, right? You do have that controlling factor, but you may want to also set up again that mute participants upon entry for that extra level of security so that they don't just, you know, make that sound. Also with video, I set my own video to be off, but the events I do have the participants' videos on when they come in. You may want to switch that to off so that they, you know, and then they have to manually, you know, turn everything on, or you may need to send them, you know, requests to turn it on. So typically when they first join, I believe they can turn on their camera and audio the first time if you have it set to off. It's just when you decide to stop their video and audio at that point, that's when you would have to ask them, you know, a request to turn it back on. So just a couple quick couple of quick tips to, you know, go into how you can also, you know, control your audience in the sense of, you know, you might need that to make sure there's no disturbance to your actual event. And that's about it. Okay, so we're going to go over a couple of quick items real fast in Zoom that you can do for additional engagement. 1, waiting rooms. So you go into your event details here in Zoom, your meeting details, and you can activate the waiting room. I am sure that most of you have been placed into a waiting room when you've gone to a Zoom event, right? And then you'll be let in afterwards. So why I mention that here is because you could do engagement before engagement in the chat. While it's not selectable here because I don't have any qualifiers, if there are folks in the waiting room, you can send them chats directly to the waiting room through the chat. They will see it. They cannot respond to you, but, you know, you get that pre-engagement where you can say, hey, thank you so much for coming in. You know, we will be letting everybody in about 5 minutes. We really appreciate having you all here, right? So you get that little bit of extra engagement before the event rolls. 2, waiting rooms. You also have breakout rooms. So breakout rooms, there we go. Breakout rooms, to create separate rooms within the Zoom room for folks to talk in, right? So you might want to do some sort of special thing. We have a couple of guests, and maybe at the end of the event, you put each guest in like a separate room, and folks who are more inclined to guest A could go in there and talk with them. Folks in room B could go in there and talk with them. All you do is you just sign a room up. There are settings. So typically for myself, I would allow participants to return to the main room after a breakout room, because otherwise you send them to the breakout room. Then when they leave the breakout room, they just leave Zoom. So they could always come back into the main room if you feel that's necessary. I typically don't let the participants choose a room or automatically move participants based on Zoom's algorithms and such. As a host, I feel like it's better to control where your audience is going to go. So, you know, you can easily arrange that ahead of time by setting up, you know, pre-registrations for interest of what, you know, guests might be coming in for a specific special event. So there is a countdown where if you closed a room and you had to shut them all down for some reason, there'll be a countdown to breakout rooms. In this, it says 60 seconds. They have 60 seconds to get out or they're going to be kicked out. Real easy. All you do is go to assign. You can also rename the room too if you want to give it a name or whatever. You know, but choose who you want to go in there, and now you have that person in the room. Again, you can add another room and assign someone else into that room, and then open your rooms. You open your rooms, and everybody is going to a room. They will get a notice saying that, hey, you can go to that room, and they would hit the join button on their end, and they would go to those rooms. Okay, if need be, they can leave the room, or you can close the rooms. Right? If they leave the room, you know, that one option set, they come right back in. Otherwise, hit close all rooms. They see a notice on their end. They leave. They're going back to the main session, which is here, and boom, you see there's no one in the rooms anymore. Okay, so another way to do it: breakout rooms. Okay, so you can also live stream, YouTube, Facebook. You do need to set up those events on YouTube or Facebook ahead of time. So if you do have a web person or an IT person, that handles your web-based needs. That could also be yourself. You would need the appropriate events set up to connect Zoom to. You can also configure that in your Zoom settings on your web portal. I always recommend doing a couple of test runs. Make sure you get connection, make sure it's actually running, because you never know what will arise. And friendly reminder, you're always up to the whims of the internet. There's always that chance where if Facebook or YouTube's not happy that day, the live stream, maybe it won't kick through, but hopefully it does, and it's another tool to use, because maybe your particular function or event will have a greater draw, saying to folks, hey, you just go to this Facebook group right here and go to this Facebook event and just watch it from there instead of coming into the Zoom room. Of course, they're going to be fully passive over there unless you have like an additional moderator over there who could be moderating chat over there in that event with those folks, because if you're running Zoom, you're probably busy enough running this half over here, right? So on top of that, also screen sharing. Just quick reminder that if you do screen sharing in the event, don't forget that if it has audio, you must click that share sound. Don't forget about that share sound. It's also a good idea to prepare your files in advance, know where they're at, know where you're going to pull them from. You might want to even have them preloaded like in a media player, so that way you just go right to it and hit play when it's time to go. Optimize for video clip. You could use that, but depending on the computer, that could bring up some unwanted effects. So you may just want to just make sure you have that share sound selected. And last, lens. Talk to the lens. If you don't know where the lens is on your device, take a moment and look. You could record yourself and see, on the tape if looks like you're looking at the lens, because if you're looking at the audience. There's no human contact. We know how difficult it is. So this is a must. This is a must. In my opinion, this is a must. And obviously, if you're reading information, you're going to look down while you're reading information. But when you can, please look back to the lens to communicate to your audience. Please, please, please. Last thing, record. Recording on the computer, recording on the cloud. Folks may have used either option already. If you record to the cloud, please note the cloud does not take everything with it, such as language interpretation, some spotlighting. It does not take that. So be aware that if you go to the cloud and you pull it down later, it's not going to be what you want. You can record locally to your computer. If you record locally to your computer, you will not see the footage until you end the room. When you end the room and everything is done, a pop-up will come up on your screen because it has to prepare the final version of your file. That may take some time, but your computer has to do that whole process. Once it's done, the file, the video is then available on your computer to use. So do keep that in mind. You need a little bit of time after the event is done if you record locally to your machine to make sure that file is finished. If you have a very straightforward, simple event, recording to cloud is certainly an option. So there you go.
That's it. We're done. We're done with that. Thank you for everyone sticking through with the video. It's definitely a crash course, is exactly what it is. Julie, what's up on tap? Should I be going through some questions here? Is that what we do next typically? I don't want to
Yes, now that the presentation's over, we're going to do the open question and answer session. A few of you typed some things into the chat. Someone is asking, and we didn't talk about, what's a good audio editing app for recorded voice on a Mac?
But I'm thinking a good start. I would think a good start for that would probably be to at least work with it. And I'm thinking also low cost, free cost. Probably I would say give a shot first with, I'd say try Audacity first. Their initial software is free. I don't know if there's a paid premium version to it. It's actually been a while since I used Audacity because I typically will be running, again, I run everything on Adobe ever since I was a teenager. I just kind of grew up on Adobe while kind of working with Final Cut on the side. But I would say give Audacity a look first. I think I just made a note here because I want to take a look to see if there's other like free software that's out there that would be possible for your needs for that. So let me check into that. But I would say give Audacity a start with it.
That was actually my question. I was asking about the settings. if you're doing a recording and you don't want any of the participants to be in the recording, you just want the speaker and their presentation or video. So I don't know if that's a distinction that's made between meeting
yeah,
setting and webinar settings, or
I think that, like, I don't have the answer off the top of my head. There's two things I'm thinking. One is that's definitely something more controlled if you set up a webinar versus a standard room, which is what this is. So with the webinar, it is more designed fact where only the authorized host and co-hosts are, the ones that are going to be visible. In a normal room like this, a workaround to that would be for either the host to do or ask the attendees to turn off all their cameras. And then once everybody's cameras are off, that could be something at the beginning of the meeting. And again, setting cameras up to be off at the initial meeting is known in the video in the beginning with the settings. You have everybody log in with their cameras off initially. And then of course you're gonna have like all like the icons, the first letter of everyone's name, or maybe they have a picture of themselves or such. You can then go and hide non-video participants at the top of the screen, and you could then get rid of all those extra windows in that manner. That's one way to go about it in this type of room. But the most direct way, Julie, would be through a webinar. You're right about that, because it's been a little bit since I used a webinar, but that definitely would be the more direct way.
Okay, great. And then we had another question about the number of languages that are available in the translation feature in Zoom.
I don't have the exact number because Zoom updates everything all the time. Just saying that right now, make sure you keep Zoom updated. And sometimes some of the functions in Zoom is dependent on how updated your actual computer is. So just keep both those things in mind. With that being said, I think right now the number, I think is like 4 or 5 languages, 4 or 5 options from when you would choose. Like in the video, I just had English and Spanish. I think it's 4 or 5 you could choose total. Keep in mind, you want to make sure you do have someone in the room set up to be a translator for each of those options, right? So that way the participants can just choose which language they want to hear in there. And when you hear the mix too, I didn't say this in the video, it's actually a mixed audio. So if I'm speaking right now and you want to hear me in Spanish and not in English, you would click Spanish as a participant, and the dominant volume is going to be in Spanish, but you'll hear from the translator, but my English voice will still be in there at like 20% of the volume. So you can still hear the tone of my voice, because sometimes you might want that inflection of the speaker as they're talking. So you hear that inflection quietly, but the translation is coming in strong to your ears in the event as a participant. So 4 or 5, I forget which, I apologize, but it's 4 or 5.
So you can have 4 or 5 languages active at one time as options, but you would need to have a person translating for each of those languages during the session in order to make that work.
Correct.
Okay. It says, if Zooming a meeting with a demo to stream the demo part of the meeting to YouTube, you said you have to set up YouTube to be ready for switching to the stream. So can you clarify a little bit how the live streaming setup?
So I personally have not done YouTube yet at all. The only thing that I've done so far is Facebook. In Facebook, you would set up a live event in your Facebook settings, where you would set up a live event and you'd schedule it for what time it would be starting, and it would just say, hey, this live event is coming up next. It's actual, as opposed to just a Facebook post, you do the live event set up for that specific time. It'd be out in advance. Then what happens is when you go in Zoom, you would click on, your options down at the bottom. I don't have them on my end, but click on the end, it'll say, go out to YouTube, go out to Facebook. We would go out to Facebook. And then what happens is Zoom actually will it actually brings up a pop-up where it's going to, ask what Facebook group it's going to. And in order for it to work for the communication, you had to be logged into Zoom, and you had to be logged on the same computer into the Facebook group as well. So whichever Facebook account you were setting up, we had to be logged into both to enable the stream going from the Zoom to the Facebook. And what it does, it actually does an auto routing. You'll send a request and it'll just start, whereas in the Zoom room, we'll go out to that single live event on Facebook and it'll start playing as a Facebook live event. Again, just a couple of quick notes. What if you have Windows 7? So Windows 7 was a time where Windows Movie Maker was available. If it's not available on your computer now, if it's, you might be able to search in Windows 7 to see if Windows Movie Maker is there and if it opens. If Windows Movie Maker does not open, that would be an issue because that means it's been, officially, decommissioned. I don't know if it's still open in 7. Okay, so what kind of lighting are you using for presentation? Mike, why the headphones? Okay, so my microphone is my onboard mic. I didn't actually worry about background, although I certainly could do a virtual background. For myself, I just have myself in my office and you can do a virtual background with it. What kind of lighting are you using? Actually, I'm not using much lighting at all. I'm actually using ambient lighting for myself because over here I have one light that's over here on top. It's kind of naturally bouncing off the walls because I'm almost in the corner of my office, way how it's laid out. So the light's coming back and hitting me. And I don't have much backlight, but I got a little bit because I have another light right behind me. Why the headphones? The headphones are on because if I have this unplugged from my computer and I have my onboard speaker, if I speak and the sound comes out from my speaker and goes right back into the microphone, it will start a looping effect. So that's actually why I have headphones on, to avoid that repeating factor, and everyone will hear it. And a lot of times it's very painful. But I do have, just real fast, I do have, this is an audio interface that is, this is a Focusrite. This is a USB-based audio interface, allows me to put in 2 microphones via XLR or 1/4 inch into the system. I do have a microphone set up on a stand with a pop filter.
Chime in and let us know. We did get one other question about if you have a device or third-party software that can do translating, can that integrate with Zoom?
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you would have live transcription enabled. Okay. If you're the host, there is, you would click on it and you would have your pop-up come up where it would say enable live transcription. Now, above that, there is a settings where you can set someone, you set someone in the group to type live and they just keep hitting enter. You're saying it live captions in. There's also another one that says uses the API token. Okay, the API token is the connection for a live transcription service. So if you have another live transcription software, or if you need to use a service from the internet where you actually are going to be paying for someone from a company to do it live, or it's someone's AI that's going to be more enhanced than Zoom's AI, because there were errors in that video with the live transcription. Okay, but again, I don't know about the costs associated with that, but using that API token is how it would work, and I would definitely cross-reference it with.
It sounds like if you have a third-party thing, you might need to involve Zoom support to double check your software or your device to see if that can work.
I've never personally used it, I'll be honest, so I can't speak from experience. I do apologize.
Yeah, we've only used live, but I know there are other options out there for translation, and it'll,
because there's
we
options like,
definitely want to encourage that.
because there's options like rev.com. I know they do things like, I know they do items like that. Okay.
We use rev.com for translating, and it's I think it ends up being about $1 a minute and like $3 a minute if you're translating into different languages, but they are a good company and they turn things around in 24 to 48 hours. So if you are looking to have someone create a transcript of closed captioning, they do provide you the file, and then you just merge them on whatever platform like YouTube that you are hosting it on. But again, we are at the end of the session, so I just want to thank everyone one more time for joining us today. It was some great information that we got from Mike, so thank you very much. If your question didn't specifically get addressed or you didn't think of a question until after the session, you can always email me. I'm happy to pass those things along to Mike. He's graciously agreed to make an additional set of videos for us if we're getting questions on certain areas of Zoom or virtual meetings that people want to address. So make sure you're letting us know if you have other questions, and we will get back to you with the answers on those. Also, I put in the chat a brief link just to our short survey to let us know how you felt about today's session and let us know what topics you might like to see in the future. So please take a moment and fill that out for us so that we can improve and make sure we're giving you topics that you're interested in. We have another event happening on the 27th at 6 p.m. It is our South Jersey Creatives at the Table event. It's going to host featuring the Pittman Pride Alliance. They are putting on a community pride event, and the session will be all about how they worked with the community across sectors to involve private businesses, community residents, the creatives that live in Pittman to put this event together. So it should be an interesting topic. Please join us for that on Thursday evening. So again, thank you to Mike. Thank you to everyone who joined, and please keep in touch and let us know if you have any other questions. Thank you, everybody.